Hey there, folks. Welcome to Let's Play Games West Virginia. I'm Kevin.
I'm Heather.
And this is PokéMonday. If you're new to the channel, we're a group of West Virginia-based streamers who have something going on every night of the week, and Mondays is with us doing Pokemon things. So welcome to the channel, and glad to have you here.
Sorry, I can't even keep face with that hat on.
It's a souvenir.
Yeah, it's something. Speaking of souvenirs, you got plenty of slack off?
So we missed last week's episode in prep for our travel, and so also that we could do some coverage of E3. And so I just had a little bit of stuff to show from Slack Off Community Day, including a shiny pink sloth that I traded for a Ninja Turtle. So that's exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
Thanks, Andy. I like it too. They hand them out, and they had instructions for folding them, which were exactly opposite of how you needed to fold them. So the first time that I tried to put it on at the event, it just did not hat. And then I saw someone else wearing it, and then I was like, aha, I now see how that's supposed to go together.
People who followed the directions had this part of the hat sticking straight up in front of Pikachu's face.
Yeah,
it looked ridiculous.
Direction writing is hard, but... Yeah, so as soon as I saw how it was supposed to look, I figured out how to modify it. So they were handing these out as well as team stickers and some other things from the main part of our video today, which is Chicago Go Fest 2019.
Sure is.
So PokéMonday was able to acquire tickets and go like regular like plebeian tickets, not special media tickets, to Go Fest.
We did get early access though, so we're not total plebes.
So we set up for early access. So this is actually a view from our hotel, which was overlooking the areas of Grant Park. So this is the normal Pokestops that were in the area throughout the day.
So, you did a trade?
I did.
Was that a special trade?
Yes.
During the event?
Yeah. So at the start of the event, there were tents set up for different teams, and one of the things, there were competitions to like win a shirt and some other stuff. And one of the things was to get the longest distance trade you could, like in 3 minutes. So
like the first 3 minutes of the event.
Yeah, so we did trades. I did one from Japan to Scotland, but that didn't even kind of flirt with the amount. But I was able to finally get a Corsola, as we saw there, from a kind person who was hanging out at the Team Mystic tent.
Yeah, so one of the cool things, if you have not followed up on the event too much, you could do up to 5 special trades without any kind of repercussion or inability to do so. So normally you get 1 special trade a day. So with the event, as soon as it became live, you had 5 special trades, and that could be Pokedex entries, that could be shiny Pokemon, that could be legendary or mythical Pokemon, that could be pretty much anything you wanted it to be, but you only had 5, and those ended at the time of the event ending. So come 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, you were no longer able to do any special trades, even if you had some left over. So that was a bummer for many people who only got to do 2 or 3 special trades. But luckily in the trading outpost, they had these signs that said that you were looking for certain things and that you were willing to trade certain things. So that sort of helped to propagate the trading process a little bit faster. I basically wrote in Sharpie on mine, and before I even left the table, I had done 3 of my special trades. So that was pretty cool.
The thing was, if you hadn't prearranged those trades and gotten high friend levels, if you were trading like unregistered shinies, they got really expensive really fast, even with a 50% discount.
So that was another event perk, was that there's a 50% Stardust discount. So your average legendary Pokemon with a totally new friend would have been something like 800,000, or no, it was a million. So it was 500,000, which is significantly cheaper, but it's still a pretty penny. Yeah, do you know how much Stardust you ended up spending throughout the day?
I actually no, I don't. I think it was probably on the order of 40 or 50,000 because I only did a couple of trades.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so I didn't know what they weren't for shiny. So later in the video, you'll see I had the opportunity to trade a shiny that I hatched, but I couldn't part with the 500,000 Stardust. And in retrospect, I probably should have, but like the cost just wigged me out. and I didn't do it.
It didn't bother me. I probably used 600,000 or 700,000 Stardust for trades, but I also did 5 trades. One of which you will see later is one of the Lake Trio that's regional also.
So as you can see, we have some unusual spawns for the day, one of which was Wild Absol, which has only ever been in raids before. So if you had there was a chance to, or eggs, a chance to pick up a shiny Absol. I did not end up with one throughout the day. I clicked on several, however, but the other thing were unknown Pokemon. So there we just saw an unknown W, and one of the things, the unknown Pokemon spell out a certain phrase that you kind of have to piece together throughout the event, and that gives you a tip of the hat to the result of the special research. So this event's phrase was "wake up" with an exclamation point.
Mm-hmm. Now the exclamation point is rather rare in terms of the unknown. So there's a sliding scale of the rarity of the letters and such. So there's the 26 letters of the English alphabet plus the question mark and exclamation point. The exclamation point has only been in 3 events as of April of this year. So this is the 4th event. So it's still a relatively rare spawn for even the rare unknowns. So that being said, this should be pretty good trade material for people looking to do some awesome trades. Some of the others, like A's, those have been in like, what, 30-something other events, so it's not super rare.
Counterintuitively, A was the least frequent unknown that I caught throughout the event.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising. So what did you see there?
That was, oh man, we watched a video and it's...
White squirrel.
That's a white squirrel.
A winter squirrel, whose name is...
I can't put the right syllable in the emphasis on the right syllable.
So there are a couple ways to say this. Tell us in the comments how you say it.
Pachirisu. No.
No.
I'm just lost. What is it?
Cheese room. Sorry, I had to. I say Pachirisu.
Right, that's what I've been saying.
But others say Pachirisu, which makes me think of Patchouli. So you could just call this Pokemon Patchouli if you want. Yeah.
That was my Japanese trade there, so I now have a tiny Japanese Azumarill.
Oh, that's super cute.
This is the half asleep exclamation point.
Yes, otherwise known as... You said half asleep.
Yeah, because like its half eye is closed.
Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever. I think it's cute.
One of the highlights of the event was the Pachirisu Regional, which can be found in Canada and Alaska, and they were like freaking everywhere. So we brought back piles and piles and piles of those to trade with some of our local players. If you don't have a chance to make it to Canada or Alaska, that may be your only chance to snag this white squirrel at an event like this. So, although it seems kind of like a bummer because Canada is not too far from us, we haven't been to collect them.
It's true.
But it would have been nice to have something that was from a little bit further away.
But if you think about the things that they've done that are regionals, Taurus is a regional that they, have spawn in the U.S. They also had other Gen 1 regionals in eggs last summer, so those are pretty much off the table. They had Torkoal in Chicago Go Fest last summer. They had Tropius in Safari Zone this year. And so I think they're running out of those. So
we're now into the special research. So in the first phase of the special research, you had to make some new friends, collect some Pokemon. It was pretty entry-level stuff. The second stage of it was really kind of where the meat of the research was.
Spoiler alert.
The second and third. Well,
sorry, forgot to say that.
The whole thing's spoilery.
Yeah.
The first and second and third stage of the research are where the meat of it is. So in the second stage of the research, you had to catch 5 of each type of Pokemon that it listed, and it gave you... basically made you travel all over the park to collect those Pokemon, and each one had a special reward for that section. So that's the part we're on now. The first thing we did is we headed over to the Spooky Forest, and we just kind of worked our way down the list and as the park was laid out. So the first thing that we came to from the team areas in the north is the Spooky Forest, which is probably one of the better decorated parts of Go Fest. So the entire part of Grant Park is broken into several kind of biomes. There was the Spooky Forest, there's winter Forest was also a forest.
No, there was
Fairy Garden.
It was the Spooky Woods, the
Winter Forest.
Winter Forest,
Fairy Gardens.
Fairy Gardens, Sandy Desert, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
Sandy Desert Beach, Sandy Desert, something like that. And funnily, I don't know why it's funny, but as part of weather that happens and is unpredictable, the couple days before the event, there had been several rain showers, and Niantic decided to go ahead and set up their decorations as much as they could. So I think by the time that we got there on day one, the Sandy Desert area was more like a mud pit. So all of the ground type Pokemon that were there, such as this hippo, was pretty muddy. Even though Hippopotas really does not like water, it was in an environment which is now covered in water. So that was great.
But each of the areas had special decorations and things set up. So the Spooky Woods had cobwebs in the trees and like kind of a mat laid out with kind of fall foliage.
And a well.
And some wells. The winter area had kind of icebergy mountain peaks with bubble snow. The Fairy Gardens had bubbles and flowers and some large flower installations. Mm-hmm. And the desert area was actually built on some baseball fields.
And the water area seemed to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the water area did have very little.
I don't remember seeing any decorations.
There was a trellis of flowers and bubbles coming out of it.
No, that was the fairy area. I'm talking about the water. Water
they
area.
Both had bubbles.
The water did too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, there you go. That's how much I saw.
One of the cool things was they had a battle area for the ranked PvP battles.
A battle arena!
There was a huge mural on the wall that was probably 30 by 80 feet. And they had little tiny kind of AstroTurf indoor-outdoor carpeting pads they would call people to.
That looked like the battle stages in Pokemon, so that was awesome.
Yeah, and that was super neat. So they had that ranked battle going. You had to get a special ticket for that, but they were free. You just had to get them at your team tent. I don't think either of us did those.
No, so what you could do at the team lounge, you could acquire passes for the battle arena. You could acquire passes for the media, so meeting the YouTubers that are hashtag sponsored. You could also get free items if you registered in with them and played some of their trivia things, or if you updated them on how many Pokemon you had caught, they would do drawings every hour. So for people who needed to sit and rest a while, those lounges had a lot to offer players.
One of the things that was also neat, the Flower Hat, Eevee, and Pikachu were plentiful throughout the area. So I had actually missed most of that event, so I was really glad to pick up on those. I only had one of each. Now I have enough to collect some of the Eevees. And I also was able to catch probably the rarest shiny in the game, which was the shiny Flower Hat Eevee.
It is on the top of the list. How do I say this? It is in the middle of the pack of the top tier of rare shiny spawns. So those Pokemon only spawned right near the food truck areas. So the food truck areas sort of divided the park up into thirds, and those are the two places that you could find those. So it was kind of a nice surprise to get down to the food truck areas and find those flower crowns, even though that was for only, 3 days that they were spawning during the actual event, I believe in April. So April, yeah, it was either April or May.
It was pretty recently, but I missed it either way.
So this Obama Snow was the research reward for turning in 5 ice type Pokemon. Now the thing that was interesting about these tasks, you had to acquire 5 different types of an ice type. So you couldn't just go and catch 5 Snover in a row. You had to have different things like a Lapras, a Snover, a Snorant, what else is ice? A Sneasel, those sorts of things. So you had to have 5 individual type of those. But you found a thing.
I was sending an emoji, so I didn't see the thing.
Oh, you have a shiny Sandshrew.
Ah, yeah. So the shiny catch rate was radically increased.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the things that I was able to come home with was this shiny green Sandshrew. That I actually promised to trade to you, but you ended up not needing.
I ended up getting my own shiny Sandshrew after the event. So I have, since the event, caught 2 shinies. Oh, this is interesting. So as part of the catch 5 ground type, this was the reward, but I got a male, or sorry, I got a female, and you got a male reward.
That's interesting. I didn't know there was a difference.
Yes. You can tell by their colors.
Yeah, there's a color palette difference between those two. That was a new Pokemon for me.
Cool.
So I actually think I ended up with 5 or 6 new Pokemon throughout the event.
Yeah, so you got the male.
I don't know if you saw it. It was really quick. We'll probably come back to it. But that field of Pokestops, these were all temporary. So if you didn't have an event pass, you kind of couldn't see any of them. But it was kind of strange as soon as they all spawned.
Yeah, so those spawned if you were an early ticket holder. Everything showed up at 9 a.m. sharp. But all of those stops that you saw were totally underwater or in like muddy areas. So nobody wanted to go to them.
So here we're into the third part of the research, and there is a shiny Cubone.
Woo!
So the third part of the research, throughout the day, we noticed that some of the Pokemon were where they shouldn't be. So Heather mentioned earlier that the Hippotopolopotos was in a water area where it should not have been. So all of those Pokemon that were out of their particular biomes, you had to catch one from outside or already have one in your inventory. Then go to the biome where it ought to be and take a Go Snap photo of it, which would then result in a photo bomb and a new Pokemon to catch. So the premise behind this is that you are taking them back to the places they were supposed to go, and you're kind of reordering the event, which was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I think it was actually one of the best narrative parts of a special research that I've seen.
Yeah, I think they did well with this narrative part of the story, because at first you noticed, like, well, why is let's say Ghastly showing up by Buckingham Fountain? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Ghost type Pokemon by a water fountain. But then as you got more into it, you could tell, oh, right, this is intentional. Look at that cute Ralts. So this is Kevin trying to take a picture of it in its natural habitat.
Which obviously requires some fussing.
I've not seen this before, so I'm like watching it for the first two.
I'm trying to figure out a way how to like get those flowers in the background in a way that cable was in the way and it was driving me nuts.
Hey, Jigglypuff, photobomb. So
yeah, I think this is probably one of the best motivated parts of a special research that I've seen as far as kind of plot goes. It doesn't necessarily fit in outside of itself, but I liked the fact that the research had a narrative component that like made some sense, that you spent time seeing all of these, and many of us made the observation they were in the wrong spot and they need to go into the right place.
one thing you'll also notice is that that's a pretty significant amount of Stardust, which is awesome because if you catch the 3 unknowns first, you could use that star piece to collect all of that Stardust, helping you out with your special trades for the day. So if you were wise about those things, you might have had on a Stardust star piece and a lucky egg to do those claimings, which would then yield you, what, like 7,500 Stardust?
Yeah.
Which is a large part. I mean, a special regional trade is 10,000 for a good level friend, so to have that is a good chunk of change.
Yeah, so I was trying to, at least for the period we were doing the special research, but less so after, to keep an egg and a star piece on that entire time.
Yeah, I pretty much kept on an egg and star piece constantly throughout the day.
So this is an error that I had no fewer than 6 times with an invisible Pokemon and a half invisible Pokeball. I don't think this is an overestimation.
Hey!
Oh, hey, there's that super shiny Eevee.
With the flower crown.
I don't think it's an overestimation to say I had 40 app crashes throughout the day.
Yeah, same.
It was immensely unstable, And it could have just been, heat of the day, heat of the phone, and the massive user load for that area. But it was super frustrating. I don't think I made it through a single area without having to restart my phone.
So I did notice, and other people echoed this as well, that there was a large surge of app crashes around 11 o'clock when the general admission tickets were open then. So that means that the users sort of overloaded the server, but also people were indicating that there were server crashes or glitches rather, right near Buckingham Fountain. So that area for me, I could not get onto the app for probably a solid 15 minutes. So after leaving that area, I had less problems, but I still had several app crashes throughout the day, to the point where I was getting frustrated that I wasn't going to get to play. But it is day one, so I should have expected that.
But this white loading error was another one that I had several times. But if I remember correctly, Pokemon Go uses Google Cloud servers. So basically their server, the amount of servers they have at any given time fluctuates based on load. And they should be able to predict that for special events, whether it's Community Day or things like GoFest. But man, they don't seem to be able to, because every major event, there's usually some period where they go down.
I did feel like a plebe, Andy. For sure.
It seems like there's been... Oh, hey, check that out.
Look at that! Pokemon! And the backpack, somebody walking through.
It seems like now there should be enough historical data for them to know how many they're going to need. So the conclusion of the special research was this tiny guy and a musical band.
So, this Pokemon, legend says that it has been asleep. However, there are some disturbances in the world, such as Pokemon being out of their natural habitats and Pokemon making music then were the photobomb rewards, like Kricketune, Jigglypuff, right, Loudred, whose ears are literally speakers. So whenever you complete all of the research, all of those guys show back up and begin to play in the OG Pokemon band. Which you then can take snapshots of to get your Jirachi.
So if you haven't completed a special research before, the result of the special research is always done in AR mode, and you can't choose other balls.
Or berries.
You just have the Pokeballs that you have, and it has to be done in AR mode. So I was trying to catch mine because I know there's a zoom effect after you catch it with this logo in the background, but occasionally there were backpacks and butts in the way.
Yeah, some lady walked right in front of it and it zoomed in on her butt. Sorry.
So this is the second time I've tried to get like a clever catch thing for a special research. The one we tried to get Heather to hold Mew in her hand, and it just didn't work.
It's so cute.
There it goes.
So your Jirachi, what did you say ended up being?
I didn't run it through an IB calculator, but it is a Wonder Exceed.
Okay, so I ran mine through PokéGenie, and mine's 84% IVs. So I, of the scale from 0 to 100% IVs, did pretty well. That's not uncommon for me with legendaries and mythical Pokemon, but this one seems to be pretty solidly in the good range.
So the fourth stage was to collect a certain number of XP per level. It was like 2019, and I had that all the way finished before it even opened. So that's why we didn't see that and jumped straight to that. And then there's always a one more kind of menu to work through to catch up. So you see
get your candy.
The main reward for this one is 20 candies, 5 golden Raz, and I think that was some Stardust.
Yep.
So that was the special research from Pokemon Go. So that special research is not yet available for players who are not at the event, but it usually rolls out a couple of weeks or a month after the event. So Jirachi will be available to all the other players worldwide, and that special research, I don't know imagine it will change because the Pokemon Snap locations won't be geotagged.
Yeah.
So there'll be some differences between the special research that we went through and the one that everyone else will go through. And that is one of the upsides and downsides of events like GoFest is you get to get that Pokemon kind of ahead of the curve, but you don't go through the same special research narrative and story that everyone else does.
That's true.
So it's kind of a give and take there.
For us, I think...
But I hatched this shiny boy.
You hatched it.
So here's my 500,000 trade that I could not bring myself to pull the trigger on. And
Oh.
in retrospect, I should have, but the person I was trading with was incredibly kind, and they allowed me to switch that out to another Pokemon that they already had as registered that was much lower cost. And I even told them, like, hey, I'm just not willing to part with that amount of Stardust, so it's totally reasonable for you to not be willing to part with the Torkoal. Like, I won't be angry, no hard feelings if you don't want to trade that because I don't want to spend the Stardust. But he was really, really cool, and he said, no, I'll go ahead and take 2 of this other one. So we went ahead and sent over a shiny Smoochum, and I was able to get that Dex entry from Torkoal, which was super nice.
Yes, that is super nice. So instead, you then traded me your shiny Krabby.
I did later, but it was much cheaper.
Yes, it was much cheaper because I already have Krabby in the Dex, and right, it wasn't one of the fancy trades with the regional. Pew!
But yeah, so the shiny Krabby I hatched, and I was kind of, after I'd done the special research, I was kind of done shiny checking things, so I was using my Pokeball Plus a lot. And there were several surprise shinies through that, and it was definitely kind of an exciting thing to be like, oh, look, there's extra shinies, which is not something that normally happens.
I don't know why I didn't use my Pokeball Plus more throughout the day for catches. I guess I was afraid of the shiny fleeing, so I didn't use it until probably the afternoon time when I was like, okay, I'm starting to slow down. Let's speed this back up. After that, then I did also catch a shiny with my Pokeball Plus, so that's kind of exciting.
So this is my trade, my charity trade, if we're honest,
Right.
where this fellow Shade Kings gave me a Torkoal.
Yeah, for 10,000 Stardust.
Which
Woo.
otherwise would be a pretty expensive trade.
Yeah.
So at Ultra Friends, a special trade is down to 800 Stardust.
However, shinies are 40,000.
Yeah.
So they still expensive. Don't get me wrong. So throughout the day, you said you made what, 3 trades?
Yes.
What were those?
Torkoal, Corsola, and I sent I got an Azumarill and I sent something else for distance. Mr. Mime from Scotland.
Oh, so that counted as one of your special trades then?
Yeah.
Okay. So the special trades that I ended up doing, I got a Torkoal from the same guy who had gotten this Torkoal at GoFest last year. I got a Sandy Cloak Burmy, which I know is totally irrelevant because it's in raids and such, but I had just not done it. And it so happens that it was a female and it's lucky. So I got a Sandy Cloak female. Additionally, I got a shiny Shelter, which I ended up giving up my shiny Machamp for because I love shiny Shelter. Everybody on the stream who's watching knows that I love shiny Shelter, and so I got myself one. I also then had pre-planned through, I believe it was Reddit, and made friends with somebody from far, far, far away in Australia. And so we had been working on our friendship level for a couple weeks now. Now, we didn't quite make it to Ultra Friends, but we were very close. So I ended up trading an Uxie, which, as you can see, is one of the Lake Trio, and it is regional, and it turned out to be 91% on the IVs and lucky. So I got hella lucky. I won out here, Pokemon Go Fest for today. So that came from Australia. I also happened to do another trade with the same guy in which I got a double legacy move Dragonite from August of 2016. Now, its IVs are terrible, but it's 2700 CP, so it's still pretty heckin' good for a crappy Dragonite. So I'm real happy with my special trades, I'll just put it that way. I did some work making that happen, right?
So you'll notice in the video, I had over 90 rare candies. So one of the things that was super cool about the event is that every regular research task that you did, and as you know, the teams were trying to, for the Global Research Challenge, complete a certain number of them, and GoFest was trying to complete 1 million over its few days. And all of those research tasks yielded 3 rare candies.
Rare candy.
I went into
which is
GoFest
hard to find.
with 0. I left with close to 100. So what I've been doing here is pumping those rare candies into those few Pokemon that I needed to evolve to get their final forms for my Pokedex. So after running through all of these Pokemon, so I think there's 6 or 7 evolutions here, I now have my Pokedex down to just the few regionals and Pokemon that have not yet been released. So I looked at it, and my Pokedex is 96.7% complete. I'm just looking for those regionals now, and that actually feels like a kind of relief.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to worry about getting a good trade per se. I can just shop off the unknowns and the Pachysaroo all around, and the game is going to change a little bit since most of that dex is complete.
So, in your discussion of Pokedex completion, are you considering the Pokedex entry just as the one type, or are you considering male and female, shiny, luckies, etc.? I know there's some differing opinions on those.
I was just raw whether the blue screen has occurred and that number is checked off.
Okay.
If I feature in kind of male-female differences and other subtypes, there's still a lot of work to do. I think I ended up I added it up. There's like 70 more I would need to fill out male and female.
Yeah.
Not every Pokemon has a male and female difference.
Like Unknown.
But some of them do. And then Unknown, of course, has 28 subtypes. Mm-hmm. So I'm nowhere near clearing out that. But some of the Pokemon that look different, if you look at Onix or Steelix, the female has 1 kind of facial tooth, and the male has 2 little triangle facial teeth. Mm-hmm. And so some of the Pokemon have differences. Some of them it's really, really subtle, where a horn or a wing might be a different size, or a part might be slightly different colored. And then some are relatively different to where they evolve into different things. It just kind of depends.
So you finally got a real, Lucario.
Yep. Since I had this pile of rare candy, it was burning a hole in my pocket pretty quickly. Yeah.
I think I got 108 during the event, and I still had a couple research tasks for field research tasks after the event. So right now I'm sitting at 115 rare candy that I have not decided where to put them yet. So I've become a hoarder of rare candy, and I never thought that would ever happen to me. So who knows? People can change. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, my main goal was to clear out as many dex entries as was possible for me for the event. Mm-hmm. So here we were taking a break, sitting down at the Team Mystic tent, and I was just burning rare candies.
Burning left and right. Kevin, Patrick.
But Lucario was particularly hard to get, because mostly I only ever got Riolus through egg hatching.
Yeah, that's the only way.
So if, it was rare candies, and that was it.
Riolu was the only... It's one of the few Pokemon that has been super rare in that kind of way. Cherubi has also been that way, right? You can only hatch it. I've hatched 2 so far. Chingling has been that way as well, although now it's changed to other eggs. Let's see what else. Go on.
So real quick, this is the beginning of my GoFest haul. So I looped the first Pokemon before my first GoFest. And this is a scroll up through everything caught. Now, I did send about 70 Pokemon back to the wood chipper before this, because I wasn't sure how much space I was going to need, so I was curating at the beginning, and then I quickly saw that I wasn't going to fill it up, so I stopped curating. So there were about 70 more catches than you see here, but this is most of everything.
So did you transfer anything that was like a regional or anything fancy?
No, just kind of like trash Pokemon.
Gotcha. Trash Pokemon. What that mean? I'm just interested in seeing what all kinds of things you got.
So there's that shiny Krabby. That was a fun hatch.
That Torkoal.
Torkoal that I got in trade. A couple of them I'll highlight through here.
Yes, Pokemon Back to the Wood Chipper is really dark. It's Kevin's dark way of talking about transferring them to the professor, which is a much more kid-friendly version than just tossing them in the grinder, which is really sad.
So there was also a shiny Drifloon there. There's a shiny Bronzor. And
which I think we got the same one.
There's a shiny Sunkern.
Uh-huh.
And there should be a shiny Snorant somewhere in here.
Oh, you also got a shiny Snorant? Cool.
Yes.
Was yours male or female?
I don't remember. So the whole idea for the wood chipper is, you take the Pokemon and you send it back to the professor, and then you get candy back. And it's not clear by what mechanism shipped Pokemon turn into candies.
It's real
and
dark,
I
Kevin.
think it's a Soylent Green kind of situation, and thus the wood chipper was born.
So are these just your snapshots?
Yeah, this is a slideshow of your and my snapshots and a few and like your videos interspersed in between.
Ah, okay. So I had my very first... What?
That's you and a Ghastly.
Why? What? So I had my first experience with having back-to-back shiny Pokemon catches. That was something that's never happened to me before. I have heard of other people having like 3 or 5 back-to-back Pokemon before, but that's never happened to me, and weirdly enough, it was the same Pokemon that was shiny, and it had spawned in almost the same spot. So I clicked on a Wailmer, it was shiny, I lost, my cool, and then caught it, and then clicked on the next Wailmer, and it was shiny, and I totally lost my cool. So it was really, really awesome to sort of like add that to the experience bucket list of things I've now done. So of the event then, the shinies that I ended up with a shiny Sableye, which was totally new for me, and it was 70% on the IVs. I ended up with a very trashy IVs Mawile, which is super cute because it's like purple. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's purple. Look at it. I ended up with that shiny Shelter, a shiny Lotad, which I had from our special research time, a shiny Bronzor, which I think was the same one that you got, a shiny Duskull, actually make that 2 shiny Duskulls, one that I traded to Kevin, a shiny Phoebus, which I already had 1, and 2 shiny Wailmers after I've already had a shiny Wailmer, and a shiny Snorant female, which I've already evolved to Frostlass, and she looks heckin' cool. You can tell that her belt is a magenta color, which is different from the regular. A shiny Sandshrew after the event, and the shiny Krabby that this guy gave me. So it's been a really good shiny haul for Pokemon Go Week, etc.
It was a super cool event. Also, Andy says he doesn't like to think about Pokemon lore a whole lot for particularly the wood chipper reason.
Oh,
but I've got
fair.
another one that I recently came across, which is plant versus animal type Pokemon. So the Pokemon that look like plants, like Bellsprout and Oddish, are they made of meat because they're animals, or are they made of plant stuff? Like if an Oddish, if you opened up an Oddish, would you find plant, or a Cherubi, would you find cherry, or is it just meat that looks like a cherry?
So that would then be an animated... So what would happen if you took a bite into Cherubi, right?
Like, that's my question. Are you coming away with beef, or are you coming away with cherry?
That's creepy, Kevin. I've never thought about cannibalism for Pokemon.
Go ahead and let me know, Andy, what you think about the potential for there being meat inside plant-based Pokemon.
I can't unthink about this. I'm really disturbed now. This hurts me a little inside, Kevin. Why did you do this?
Yeah, Ghastly and Ghost types.
I'm very disturbed. Speaking of disturbed, I was super disturbed in 2016 when Ghost-type Pokemon spawned near the children's hospital that I worked at. So that was creepy.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
All in all, GoFest was super cool. I'm really glad we got to go. We got to actually travel with some friends of ours who were local players here, and it was cool to be able to do that. It was cool to pop around to the different tents and meet a bunch of people. It was a pretty neat thing. And we saw Zoe Two Dots and Pokemon Master Holly.
I also saw a couple others that are less common, some of which I can't remember their names right now off the top of my head, but we saw them on Thursday.
Trainer Tips Nick was there in disguise, but we did not see him, or at least if I saw him, I wasn't aware of it because he was,
I was glued to my phone.
In disguise. But it was pretty cool to see some Pokemon celebrities. They were pretty busy, so we didn't really interrupt them or ask for pictures or anything, because most of the times they had like full-on entourages or were being driven around by Niantic in little golf carts. So it was pretty cool, however, to see them in real life, and maybe we'll be hanging out with them sometime in the future when PokéMondays blows up.
Yeah, let's blow PokéMondays up. Woo! Woo!
So yeah,
Ooh.
Go Fest was super cool. I'm glad we got to go. And oh look, it's another white screen error.
Hey, it's the band.
And
So
that's
here,
the whole band.
here is my catch sequence wherein we will have a close-up of someone's butt. You can see several people walking by. This chick is trying to take a picture of something and yet not doing it very well. I'm also trying to catch Jirachi and not doing very well. So there's a foot. But wait, there's more.
The AR catches for the special research Pokemon are particularly difficult because your sense of if you've been playing a lot and you don't play with AR, there's like some kind of known distances for how far the Pokemon are away from the plane that you're throwing from. But that is not the same as when you're using AR mode.
It totally moves around. So not only does the Pokemon move around, but as you move your phone around, it changes that distance. So you could be as close up as a Caterpie, which is like this far, or you could be this far away, which is like a Lapras far away. So here we are. I'm trying to catch it and missing. The person in question's butt is now here in the shot. There we go. Catching Jirachi on the booty. I can't. There's a butt right there in my picture.
This is going to be Exhibit A in some lawsuit. I can foresee it.
She didn't have to put her butt in the way. I was trying to get the Go Fest thing in the background, but she's putting her butt in the way, man. Like,
oh, man.
Get out of here. I can't. Yeah. I'm still thinking about me AR plus catching Jirachi with her butt in the way. Anyway. No buts about it. We had a great time.
So, in the which Pokemon are you looking for and which you're willing to trade venue, it turned out that I was looking for the same Pokemon as everyone, their mother, their uncle, and a cousin they don't talk to anymore.
Yep.
So Tropius, Relicanth, Blue Shellos, Chatot, Uxie, Mesprit, and there weren't as many with Gibble. But man, everyone else wanted those. There were a bunch.
Mm-hmm. So things that
That's the desert zone.
Yep. There's a Ghastly. So these awnings are part of the team lounges. So each team had their very own lounge. As part of the quest, you had to take Go Snapshot like we talked about earlier. So sometimes I was bored, so I just sat there and took snapshot pictures. Which for many people, they thought ahead and did all of the pictures to get their snapshot badge because you have to have like more than 200. I didn't think to do that, so I'm still stuck in the plebeian area of the snapshot photobomb badge, but I've gotten a start on it. So I think I'm up to like 20 or something now.
There was also a part of the event that we ended up missing because we had to catch a flight, so we pieced out pretty quickly. If you took a snapshot photo after the event ended within its geotagged location, Team Rocket photobombed your photo, which is kind of the second time it's been noted in the app. The first is only you can purchase some Team Rocket clothing, but that's the first actual instance of Team Rocket in the Pokemon Go sub-universe of the game. So I'm excited to see what comes from that. I really think that people who are spoofing should just get like shucked into Team Rocket, pulled out of their teams and dropped into Team Rocket and be made the antagonists of the game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Team Rocket. I'm pretty bummed out that we missed that one. We just we had to leave and we didn't know to do it. And there was a Meowth which would spawn after that. So I kind of wish I had a Go Fest Meowth, but oh well. But I'm excited about Team Rocket entering the game.
So Meowth was the Pokemon that, if you know anything about Pokemon, you know that Meowth is with Team Rocket. So it's pretty natural to get that as your Pokemon Snapshot photobomb pick. But other individuals were noticing that as soon as the event ended, that the stops didn't go away yet. However, they were totally unusable. So, like I said, at 9 a.m. sharp for us, all of those things appeared. However, at 7 p.m., the stops did not disappear. They just stopped being functional. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but with the photobomb thing, that kind of makes me think it was intentional to get you to question and see what sorts of things you could do. We also, as part of the event ending, missed the group snapshot. They took a everyone who attended on Thursday kind of photo, and we missed it. But we also didn't know what sorts of things to expect after the event. So had to get to the airport, just figured it was easier to go straight after.
So we were there Thursday for the opening of the event, and GoFest attendees on Thursday completed over 400,000 of the required 1 million special researches for the Worldwide Global Research event, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yep.
We are also glad we went Thursday because Saturday part of it got rained out. So the weather was so severe in Chicago that they basically had a game rain delay for some time. And so there's actually going to be a makeup day for those players who were affected wherever they happen to be in the world. And that will be announced later. So it's Saturday, right?
It was the
Saturday.
Yeah, the Saturday attendees then still have access to all of the Pokemon that would be at GoFest, just in, wherever they are, which is sort of a bummer because that may be quite overwhelming to have just all of these Pokemon spawns show up. But they did get part of the day. So Chicago officials suggested to Pokemon Go/Niantic to shut down the event, but then at 3 p.m. they reopened it for the last 4 hours. So those people should get at least a couple hours of play.
Although it's really interesting to know that Niantic can tailor the play experience to effectively single individuals.
Yeah.
And so like the logical inferences from that about shiny rates and lucky catch rates
RNGs
are interesting to say the least.
Random number generator.
But if someone didn't complete the special research, I don't know how they're going to do things like the biome picks and things like that. So I think that having that time chunked out really could affect their ability to complete that, and they'll almost have to turn on the regular special research for them after the fact.
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe they would do that. Instead of having to finish the GoFest special research, maybe they would get lumped into the Jirachi quest when it comes out for the general public.
Got a shiny Lotad at the event?
I did. Yep, so that would be my 4th shiny Lotad. I got 3 during the event. 3 during the special research time of Lotad, that water event thing, and I gave 1 to you, and then I also got 1 here. So,
Sweet.
Yeah. So I've now had 4 shiny Lotad and 3 shiny Wailmer, not including the Community Day shinies.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had quite the haul.
I did. I had a huge haul. I think I caught somewhere near, 700 Pokemon. So that was mostly just me catching. Like I said,
double Wailmers.
My double Wailmers in a row.
And a shiny Phoebus we saw.
Shiny Phoebus right by Buckingham Fountain.
No shiny Lapras?
No shiny Lapras. I was very sad about that. I even went back to the ice area, or the winter area, to try and pull out a shiny Lapras, but to no avail. So yeah.
Awesome.
So we had a great time. We ended up going to Chicago Wednesday, and after a couple supposed weather delays, I'll put in air quotes, we did get there Wednesday afternoon, evening, and then spent the night in a hotel, got up ready, got ready for GoFest on Thursday, spent the whole day there, and then flew back Thursday so I could be back for business things. Sorry, not business things, work things, because I have a job. From that, it was a very quick trip, and I wish that we had longer to stay. I know there were Sylph after parties every night of GoFest. So the Sylph League had separate parties. The The YouTubers had parties. There was another PvP style tournament. So I would have liked to go to some of those things if we had more time. So if we ever get to go to another event, I will definitely carve out more time for that.
Yeah, it was a pretty hectic trip for us, but overall it was really good. It was cool to get the regional Pokemon. This 5 special trades was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That really made you kind of use them judiciously. If there'd been as many as 10, you probably would have been less careful about it.
Sure.
5 was almost, I guess, the ideal number if you wanted people to be careful.
Right.
If you wanted more trades, I think obviously kicking that up to 10 would have been better. One of the things that occurred for the event we missed, we started in the north part of the park, so by the time we made it to the south part of the park, this had passed, but there was an error for which the shiny Abra was available from 9 to 11 in the southern part of the park. So Abra was really only spawning in the trading area. We missed out on that just because of our gate of entrance.
Totally missed it. And neither one of us got shiny Horsey,
Right.
which was the featured Pokemon for the event because of Buckingham Fountain and such. So neither one of us got shiny Horsey.
One thing that's interesting is I said North Gate, but that's kind of a misnomer. There really weren't any gates. The whole thing was totally open.
It was a Pokestop gate.
Yeah, so
we'll put it that way.
if you had the medal, you could spin a stop, and then everything was available to you. But it was really neat, and it was a really interesting way to kind of control things. A couple of times I left the event, and I found that after I crossed the first set of bridges to head back towards Chicago, I could watch the event Pokemon disappear from my screen.
Whoa.
So it was all geo-locked, kind of plus or minus maybe 500 feet. And that was kind of at the point. So as I was walking, as soon as I hit the middle part of the bridge, there were some train tracks there. I could watch all of the event Pokemon bamf away.
So one thing that we did hear about, we didn't encounter it because we didn't ask people, right? People who had tickets for GoFest on other days decided to come on Thursday to either hang out or do special trades or get in the merch line. But there were some issues in that people were trading with individuals who did not have the Go Pass for that day. And that was unfortunate for them because that counted against them for a special trade. And they could then not access the 5 special trades for the Go Fest. So there were some issues there. People had to verify with the team lounges that they had a badge for Thursday or whatever day in order to get prizes, because I guess people were coming to win prizes, but not on their Go Fest day. So,
although that was not happening at the beginning part of the day.
Not the beginning part of the day. That was definitely later.
So they must have been made aware that was occurring later.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks to Bullet Go Club and to Twitch is My City. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. We appreciate the raid. Bullet Go Club brought 9 viewers.
Cool.
From their channel.
Thanks. We are just finishing up our discussion of Pokemon Go Fest. We attended on Thursday. We got the early access pass, so we started bright and early at 9 a.m. and we left shortly after 7 o'clock. Well, I did. So I left shortly after 7 o'clock after the day ended, and forgot or didn't know about that there would be a Team Rocket photo bomb. So I didn't get to do that, but all of the other stuff of GoFest, we totally took advantage of everything, including sending our family, friends, gifts from the Pokemon GoFest toilets, or sending them gifts from the food trucks, or, the merch line, or wherever. So that was a lot of fun to be able to send porta potty gifts. I don't know why. I'm just weirdo. So whatever. What were some of your favorite things?
I really liked the narrative part of the special research, and I liked the ability to clear out my Pokedex. So from 2 weeks ago to today, I think I had 11 new Pokedex entries. So it was a lucrative period for me. For those of you who might just be tuning in, this episode will be available over on YouTube if you search for LPGWV Kevin in a few days. So check over there if you want to check out all of the stuff that happened earlier in the week. We're Let's Play Games West Virginia. We've got something going on every night of the week. Mondays are PokéMondays here at 8 p.m. Eastern, in which we share the week of Pokemon Go with you.
But I'm not done talking about GoFest. I had so much fun. Sorry, Kevin. I know you're doing the spiel like we're closing down. But I'm so excited. I had so much fun. You got 5 special trades, 50% Stardust discount, all of these cool stops, tons of shinies, bubbles everywhere, decorated a park. I could see the fountain from our hotel room, which we got upgraded because we're ballin'. Just kidding, we're not really, but we did get an upgrade. I got tons of candy for things like Hippopotas, things like Finneon, things like Absol. I got tons of candy for those Pokemon. One other thing that I thought was kind of cool is that in the giveaways, in each of the biomes, they would do giveaways in addition to the lounges. And they would do things like ask you what Pokemon number 123 is. And those were relative to the biomes. Additionally, they would ask you things like, how many Absol have you caught? So the person with the most Absol catches would then get a prize for that. So that was kind of neat. We heard some crazy high numbers of people doing battles, of people doing trades, getting photo bombs, all different kinds of things, even more than you can imagine. So that was super neat.
So in the haunted forest,
Spooky Woods.
Spooky Woods. One of the questions was who had the most gym battles. And it started off with people who were like 1,000, 4,000, 6,000, which is more than I had. And I was like, wow, those are pretty high. And then a dude from behind us was like, 40,000. And the MC at the mic is like, we're going to need to see your app. Come up here.
Come
and
let
the
us see
dude
the
walks
badge.
up, shows his app, and he had over 40,000 gym battles. And the entire crowd was just kind of like, all right, well done,
Give
that
this
guy.
guy a gift.
And so they would give you then like a coupon almost to head over
voucher
towards the merch redemption area, and you got like a free thing from there.
Yeah, so a t-shirt, maybe a keychain, maybe some more stickers, something.
The merch line was kind of strange. At no point did I see the line any shorter than 200 to 300 people. And it was dense, and it kind of routed you through this. You know, you always have to exit the gift shop when you leave a museum or a venue like that. It was kind of like that if the gift shop was narrowed to a single aisle and you could see one item at a time. So you had basically no idea what you were going to see later on, but you had the opportunity to like be handed things you would then pay for on the way out. It was.
I think it was that you saw the things and then at the end.
No, I watched them handing people
really?
like, T-shirts at the things. Yeah, people were walking through acquiring more and more stuff.
Whoa.
So you had no idea what was ahead of you, and it started off with like T-shirts, of which there were like 3 varieties, and then there were plushes, and then there were hats,
and then there's jewelry.
And we kind of like snuck around and like looked through some trees because normal people things.
Because we don't have all the money.
And we didn't want to wait in line for 19 hours. So they later started chasing people away from the trees. They're like, if you want to see what's in here, you have to
go through.
But basically it was an entirely tailored experience for basically FOMO and to separate you from your money.
True story.
The only thing that was better at separating you from your money that I've seen was Harry Potter World.
Oh, yeah.
But it was interesting, and some people that we knew stayed over, and they actually had an entire day of basically just to hang out in the merch line and go through the merch line.
Yep. But like I said, our trip was fast and condensed, so we didn't take advantage of all that we could have. But
I did put a digital GoFest shirt on my avatar though.
Yeah, me too. I am donning some Pokemon Go Fest attire in there, and we now have our shiny Pokemon Go Fest badge in the app, which is exciting because that's our first. Woo!
Yeah. If you haven't seen that, I will queue it up.
Yeah. Well, I might have it here. I already have the app open for PokéMondays.
So do I.
Oh, cool. Whoever gets there first.
Well, my app is not loading any of the badges. Oh,
Hold on.
Go. So this is the medal for GoFest. So this is our early access, June 13th, and it looks a little different than the other badges. So you can see part of that there. Top left is kind of filled in where the others have a white background. So that's at least one digital souvenir. And then the other thing that it is, I added the digital GoFest shirt. And I'm hanging out with an unknown Pokemon, and he's labeled as GoFest Trades, so that other trainers kind of in our area can see that, like, I have that and I'm willing to trade unknowns, things like that.
So we also then began our journey into the unknown badge work. This was both for both of us, our first time getting unknowns. And we ended up getting some exclamation points, so that's super exciting. So hopefully we will be able to go again next year and to some of the other events. But, you know, of course, life and budgets and etc. So we hope.
Scientist is also in the chat over there and saying they hope to go next year as well. So maybe we will see you folks there.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see you all.
Yeah. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. We always appreciate having people to hang out with and recapping Pokemon Go Fest.
And talk about nerd things.
Said a little bit earlier, we're Let's Play Games West Virginia. We've got something going on every night of the week. At the bottom of the screen, you see our little ticker taper schedule going on. There are a few change-ups this week. Our Sunday show has been bumped, so that's kind of up in the air. But we want to thank everyone for hanging out, and we hope to see you through other parts in the week. We have one quick question
I'm working on it.
From And Boy about the different Pokemon unknowns that were available, so we'll answer that quickly. So the Pokemon unknowns all spelled out "wake up" with an exclamation point.
Right, for Jirachi special research. So, did you already get it?
Yeah. So the different unknowns are here. So this is the exclamation point.
That's A, of course.
That's the A.
So they're all corresponding different letters.
K, P, U. I had a bunch of U's and W.
Mm-hmm.
And those are those. So when you catch them, they're not named for their letter. They're just named unknown. So I went through and renamed them for the letter that they are so I could sort them and group them. And then also added their IV percentage so I could keep the highest ones for myself and be ready to trade the other ones. Mm-hmm. So the only one we don't have the question mark. I don't know if that's part of the question or.
He asked, "What is the unknown question?"
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
So that's the deal. So thanks everyone for hanging out. We will see you next PokéMonday. Feel free to turn back in, hit the follow button if you'd like to get that notification, and we will see you guys next Monday. Thanks everyone.